Welcome to Rock Solid Productions, where in this video we are going to unbox and test out the Power Stick from Retrobit. Hey everyone, Gary here with Rock Solid Productions, and if you were a child in the 80s during the heyday of the NES, you were the man, well you were the kid really, if you had one of these bad boys hooked up to your NES. This is the NES Advantage controller, and what it did is it gave you that precise arcade feel in your living room or your bedroom, wherever you had your NES set up. Had these great big A and B buttons, just like in the arcade. Had this multi-directional joystick, just like in the arcade. But it also added some additional features that you wouldn't have in the arcade. It had turbo button functionality for A and B that you could dial in or out depending on what you needed it to do. You had a slow motion button so that you could get through games that may have been causing you a problem, slowing things down, making it easier to get through. It also allowed you, with this 1 or 2 player switch, you could slide the controller back and forth if you were playing arcade games like Super Mario Brothers, where you're not playing simultaneously. Well, Retrobit has been killing it lately, and they just sent us the Retrobit Power Stick controller designed for NES and clone systems, and you can definitely see how it's inspired by the NES Advantage. We'll throw it on the bench in just a moment, but you see the big A and B buttons that are on there, the start and select, the joystick itself. It definitely is inspired by the NES Advantage. It has removed a few features just because either they weren't needed or for cost-saving measures. So like I say, we're going to throw it on the bench, see how it comes out of the box. We're going to play some games and see if this still gives you a definitive advantage when you play your NES games. So here you can see the Retrobit Power Stick definitely has that 80s style feel as far as the graphics and everything on the box. Again, just going over what the box says on it really. Has a multi-directional joystick, microswitch buttons, customizable buttons, a 6-foot cable, and it does use the original NES port. And that's important because there are other controllers out there that have kind of tried to replicate this in the past, and they do a halfway decent job. We'll show you one in a moment, but they're designed for like the NES Classic. This is designed for the original NES and systems compatible with NES accessories. So let's dive in the box. And there we have the main unit. We'll pop that out. And there is a instruction sheet at the bottom of the box. And really just taking a look at it real quick, just tells you start, select, A-B buttons. Tells you where to plug it in and everything. I mean, it's a joystick. You can actually easily replace the joystick or A-B buttons for a more customized experience. That's interesting. So taking it out of the plastic wrap here. So very clicky here on the buttons. The joystick feels more like a microswitch, very similar to, let me actually slide this aside. This is the Emio control stick. This is for the NES Classic Edition, and very similar. You can kind of hear the clickiness on there. In addition, let's just bring in the original NES Advantage, and here you can kind of see the size difference. The Power Stick is taller. It does omit the turbo button, so that is something to be aware of. It has your start and select here, same layout as here. No slow motion button, and it is only a single player. So it is more your traditional arcade style stick without some of the bells and whistles that the NES Advantage had. Buttons actually feel really, really good. Nothing too fancy really about it. So one of the first things I will say about the Power Stick is I do wish that the cord that came on it a little bit longer. 6 feet is barely enough for me to sit on the couch here and be able to play. But we're going to start off Super Mario Brothers. And we are playing on the Super Retro Trio Plus. Definitely takes a little bit to get used to playing on an arcade stick versus using a D-pad. Buttons feel really good. It's more the control stick I think I'm going to have to get used to using again. Pretty good there. Maybe with the Power Stick I can finally beat Super Mario Brothers, which I've still yet to do. Make sure that you Check out our live stream linked up above in the gimmick in the upper up there, where you can check out my live stream where I tried to beat Super Mario Brothers. Yeah, gotta take, it'll probably take a little bit for me to get used to using the control stick versus the D-pad, because you've got to accommodate for the distance travel difference between just doing it on with your fingers. I mean, overall, not too shabby here. I mean, we're here in the underworld in World 1-2. I was able to pull that move off without a problem. Not too shabby. Let's move to Punch-Out, which is a game that I really think having the larger buttons going to make a huge difference in. So here we have Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. We're going to hit New. And this is one of the games with the NES Advantage that I really noticed a difference back when I first played for the first time. Now, if you have a coffee table or something like that, probably be easier to play with something like this. This is actually not too bad here. Just got my thumb underneath the back side. I mean, everything is coming through as it should. And counter punch. Glass Joe's down. Yeah, the buttons are real snappy and really precise. I'm liking the buttons on here. Ooh, moved a little bit too early there. Having just a little bit of an issue there going to the left, which was weird. Left. Left. That's quite odd that I'm having some delay going to the left. All right, sit him down real quick. There, I was able to dodge to the left. Sat Glass Joe down again. And it could be something where this is brand new. I may have to break it in a little bit. There, I was able to get past it. So, yeah, it may just be because I use like a dielectric grease on the contact straight out of the factory. If it's got a little bit much on there, you may just have to clean that, or not clean off, but wear it off initially. So there might be a little bit of a break-in period. Finally, we're going to throw Dracula's Curse Castlevania 3 at the power stick and see how it performs here. Going through here, it seems to be just fine. Yeah, just fine there, going through and inputting a name and everything. And we'll test and see here. There's a couple jumps I know that I'll have to make going back to the left just to make sure that it's okay. Like I say, I do like the responsiveness of the buttons. They do seem to be pretty good. Unlike Castlevania 4, you can't jump on the stairs, which I have to remember. I've been playing that game quite a bit lately too. And again, we are playing this on the Super Retro Trio Plus, so Retrobit console, Retrobit controller. Does the diagonals without any issues there. Now I've got to watch out for the bats here, because these guys always screw me up. I mean, overall, much better on this than Punch-Out. I'll say that much quite easily. And, I mean, it's not like I really noticed much of an issue at all on Mario Brothers. It was just a matter of having to kind of adjust to the control stick versus the D-pad. If you guys want to see someone who is really, really good at this game, I highly recommend you check out the NES Addict. Jay has put in a lot of time and effort into beating this game with all the appropriate characters and does an amazing job. If you're trying to beat this game, looking for some help, some tips and tricks, he is the man. I will have him linked in the widget up above. Right up there, where you can check out the NES Addict. I still don't know how to get that last candle there. I think you might need one of the other characters to do that. I mean, from a platforming standpoint and everything, this is not having an issue. Although the Medusa heads will definitely push me to my limits right now to see if I can get past this with this controller. No! Well, got one there. All right, frozen time. All right, we got through to this point, although I don't have a whole lot of life left, so I am hoping to get through here. Nice attack there, being able to get both enemies. Just about landed that one short. And just about jumped right into that enemy there too. I am playing with fire. I hate this little guy. I seriously need some health here. And with that, I've died, and we're going to wrap things up. The Power Stick from Retrobit is an interesting concept. It's trying to update the NES Advantage for today's modern gamers playing retro games on systems like the Super Retro Trio Plus or even the original NES. And if you're looking for a direct replacement for the NES Advantage, this really isn't it, because the NES Advantage, quite frankly, did more, but it also cost more too. The NES Advantage new was $50, and that was in the 80s. So keep that in mind here. I do wish that it had the turbo functionality up top here. I'm okay without the slow motion because that never really worked well for me. I'm also okay without having the one-player, two-player switch. Again, I'm primarily playing these games on my own, so I'm okay with that. But I do really wish that it had the turbo fire functionality. Talking about firing in the buttons, the A and B buttons, they feel amazing. They're really sharp, really responsive. I really dig them. Now, as I mentioned during the gameplay, a lot of companies use it's called a dielectric grease. It's basically to help reduce wear and tear on circuit boards when you do have like switches pressing a contact on a board. If it's got too much dielectric grease on there, it can impede the current flow and then be unresponsive. I'll take it apart, take a look at it, and I'll contact Retrobit because they have an exceptional customer service department. Anytime I've ever had any issues, they've taken care of me, which is a cool thing. So, but that is my opinion on the Retrobit Power Stick. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. Also, if you have any questions too, feel free to email me at rocksolidmail@gmail.com. If you have products you'd like to have featured here on the channel, that's the best way to get a hold of me too, at rocksolidmail@gmail.com. You can also send me any questions or any comments on Twitter at RockSolidStudios or on our Facebook page, facebook.com/RockSolidProductions. And finally, if you want to be like these awesome folks here and help support the future of the channel, you can do so for as little as $1 a month on our Patreon page, patreon.com/RockSolid. You can help us be able to get more games to test out with more controllers like the Retrobit Power Stick and see how it performs. And don't forget to stay subscribed to the channel. That way you're kept up to date with each and every new video and piece of content that we do post on here. Oh, and one other thing, for our Patreon supporters, they do get early access to all of our videos too, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Now, if you do want to pick up a Retrobit Power Stick for yourself, make sure you head on over to CastlemaniaGames.com. And one of the cool things that they have, first of all, any order over $20, you get free shipping and handling in the US. And if you use promo code ROX10 on many items, you can save up to 10% on your order. So it's a very cool perk and feature just for being a fan of Rock Solid Productions. I do want to thank Castlemania Games for making that available to you, our viewers here on the channel. The Power Stick from Retrobit has potential. Again, I'm going to take a look and see if it's got a little bit too much of that dielectric grease in here, and continue to play with it, because especially for games like Punch-Out, this is the way to play. Other games too, Top Gun, amazing game to play with something like this. So thanks for watching. See you soon.